My concerns as an agronomist are ensuring the overall viability and successfulness of my farmer clients. And when you see a product like this Best and how it's working in the field, you like to think that you're actually taking some positive steps forward to improving overall soil health. And as a spin-off from that, obviously comes better production for my clients and, hopefully a positive economic return. So years ago, this area was actually one paddock and treated quite the same. It's all floodplain along the Tarcutta Creek, so it's all identical soil types. And the Best was applied this year. It was applied in our autumn. So the product has now been down for 4 months. We've got a treated paddock, which I'm in here now, and we've got an untreated. And there's some marvellous differences in soil structure and root development. And we've also noted some differences in soil temperature. In fact, 1 degree Celsius, which is quite a jump. On my right-hand side here, this is the untreated soil. This one in front of me, treated with the Best. You'll notice straight away the change in colour. Quite a good dark colour through the depth of that sample. And in this one, there's only a couple of inches here on top. Then we see a colour change. Moisture, better moisture to depth. While this soil over here is still wet, there's this lighter area here, not holding as much moisture. Root development on the plants all the way down. Over here, you can basically peel off the top 2 to 3 inches. The roots don't penetrate any further. So if our season falls away and rainfall-wise and we experience some dry conditions, this crop is really going to start to struggle. Notice a difference in foliage of the 2 crops there on top. Even though this one here has been grazed longer and harder, still has stock in at the moment, we've got better foliage production. Both these paddocks were irrigated. This paddock has actually had more irrigation water applied than the Best treated. Rainfall this year has been about average for what we'd expect. So the combination of an average rainfall season to date and irrigation water, even though there's been greater dry matter production on the Best treated, so straight away we can assume that there's been more water used when both paddocks have received the same amount, and in fact the untreated has received slightly more irrigation. We've got greater water use efficiency on this side, so we've been able to retain more moisture in the soil profile. The crop's been able to use more of that moisture. If we look over here, we're only really able to hold maybe 2 to 3 inches of moisture in this profile before it becomes that hard compacted layer. So this crop's ability to draw from stored moisture is greatly reduced than the Best treated. Now, bearing in mind the 2 differences between these 2 paddocks, apart from the Best treatment, is this paddock over here has also had 100 kilos to the hectare of urea applied. It was deep banded before sowing, and yet there's a huge difference in foliage. Notice also clover regeneration, clover coming back. There's no clover at all in the untreated. And it's obvious that when the farmer says that he's been able to graze this one for substantially longer periods of time, it's quite clear to see that the extra dry matter production and how it's responding from grazing as well. The other interesting thing is the manure effects or nitrate. With being grazed, obviously, there's a lot of the cow pad effect, so areas of high nitrate and larger dry matter production. On the Best treated side, those areas are starting to thin down, so the rest of the crop is actually catching up. On the untreated, where it had that extra 100 kilos of urea, we're actually seeing some quite noticeable nitrate effects from cow pat. So to me that's saying that even with the extra N already under it, why are we still seeing that? Obviously the Best is helping with nutrient cycling. Quite often it's mentioned to me by older generation farmers how a fertiliser application today does not see the same benefit as what it did 30 or 40 years ago. And now they find that they might be applying 2 or 3 times more fertiliser and yet not quite achieving the same outcome, which measured, say, as dry matter production. So people start to question, what are we actually doing, and is the application of chemical fertiliser, pesticides, is it benefiting our soil? If you look at a bit of a timeline of what happened to a lot of properties around here, years ago, very much virgin country, grazed with livestock. It was viewed to have a need to increase production, and as a result fertilisers were started to apply, and that increase in production was achieved. And then we got to a point where we're not treating the soil as a living thing, we're just treating it as a medium in which to grow plants, and we're applying large amounts of nutrient to be able to achieve that. And yet we're not achieving the results. So you have to ask yourself, are we heading in the right direction, or is there a need for a great change? And the answer is yes. Things that I look at as an agronomist when you're using a product like Best, and what are the long-term benefits from using it? I mean, straight away, it's okay to measure what's on top of the ground, what's happening underneath. And straight away you look at this root structure and penetration to depth. And to me, that's the big winner. It doesn't matter how much fertiliser you throw at the paddock, and this is an example over here, we're still not getting that vigour in the root development. And that's the key, being able to not only harvest moisture, but utilise moisture and stored moisture at depth. And this crop has just got no ability to do that at all. If it comes in dry now, this crop's going to be in big trouble. Sure, there's other products on the market that can stimulate growth, but getting this root development's the key. Input cost-wise, from these two paddocks, in this situation, the urea was replaced with an application of Best. The application of Best was a little bit less expensive than the application of urea, but we can see straight away the marked difference between the two, both the crop vigour and root development under the soil surface. So obviously this Best is having some influence, perhaps on soil biology and release of locked up nutrient, to achieve this greater level of dry matter production for fractionally less input cost. The bottom line when choosing a product, it really comes down to economics as well. So if we can farm conventionally and use large fertiliser inputs, and our cost per hectare is comparable to using a product like Best, then Best is obviously miles ahead.